So yesterday I gave you guys my initial thoughts after 2 hours of gameplay of the new 7 Days to Die spin-off 7 Days Blood Moons. Now that video was just meant to be a first look, but it did serve as quite a scathing review at the same time. Today we're going to be going over a more neatly organized buyer's guide, I guess, and don't worry, I'm not just rehashing the same 2 hours of gameplay I had on release. I wanted to get an even more in-depth understanding of the game so I could more accurately describe it to you and my opinions on it. And yes, despite all of you and your comments about me taking one for the team and still being able to refund and thanking me for my sacrifice, I did go back in and did 2 more hours as a survivor and 2 more hours as a zombie master. Did it change my opinion? Yes, actually. Did it change it so much that I would recommend the game? No. Thanks for watching. Now, jokes aside, if you'd like a more in-depth explanation of that review, let's jump in. First information you should know about Blood Moons before its gameplay is actually just some consumer info to help you decide if it's worth your money. First, this game is $20 and is currently 10% off. The game is filled with optional cosmetic paid skins that you can technically earn in-game, but in my experience that would take a very long time. It takes around 10,000 blood dust by 100 blood stones, and the cheapest skins are 500 blood stones, and after 6 hours I have 600 blood dust. At this rate it would take me 100 hours to get 100 blood stones, and therefore 500 hours to get even the cheapest skin. Now, I'm sure there are farming methods to speed that up considerably, but as a baseline that's pretty much insanity. It costs about $20 to get 2,250 blood stones, meaning on average the skins are about $5 to $10 depending on which one, and some of those $10 skins are actually literally completely unedited rips of vanilla 7 Days to Die outfits that you can get for free in 7 Days to Die. So, additional buyer info that you should be aware of. The game is 24 gigabytes, which is somehow 7 gigabytes more than 7 Days to Die. This game is currently bouncing up and down between mixed and mostly negative reviews. When you check it on Steam, it has yet to go above 42% positive reviews as far as I've seen, and it's usually on negative, but the game has so few reviews that it does fluctuate quite wildly. Additionally, despite coming out yesterday, the game is dead as fuck at the time of recording. It has 115 players with an all-time peak of 366, which is not great. The knock-on effect of this being that getting into lobbies is starting to take a fair amount of time as a survivor, usually 3 to 5 minutes, which isn't great for day 2 of the game, and it takes an insane amount of time to get into a lobby as a zombie master. Usually in the couple of hours I played, it took about 20, sometimes 30 minutes to get into a game. Also, the game has a cel-shaded art style, which is quite divisive so far. Lots of my comments are calling it the worst part of the game, and lots of the comments are saying it's the only good part of the game, so your mileage may vary there depending on what you like. A few users are reporting severe performance issues and crashes. I can't say this has been my experience, but I did have a lot of issues with the game refusing to close when I pressed exit, and I also had a lot of issues with the game never starting because it wouldn't allow us to actually ready up. Additionally, the game only has 3 very small maps that it loops through. Rodeo Clown Academy, which is based on the Fun Pimp's headquarters. Route 66, which is based off the barren desolation of this game's player count pretty much now. And Downtown with a large broken bank, which is based off of what probably inspired this game to be made. This is probably all the pertinent information 90% of potential buyers would need to know about this game before we even touch the actual gameplay of it, but let's move on to that gameplay. The first part of gameplay, and probably the only gameplay you'll actually get to experience in Blood Moons, is the survivor gameplay. As the survivors, you group up into a group of 4 and spawn into one of the 3 maps I mentioned. From there, you run around collecting loot boxes. These contain building materials, ammo, and medicine. These building materials can be used to craft one of about 5 blocks: the block, the fence, the door, the spikes, and ladders. Later in the progression, you also unlock landmines and robotic turrets. You have 4 minutes to prepare yourself for the first horde night, during which the zombie master will gain a large pool of zombies to spawn and can use them to try and kill you. If all survivors go down at the same time, the game ends. During horde nights, you can sometimes find special boxes which contain powerful weapons. I only ever found one though, and it was the chainsaw. I do also know that the stun baton, M60 and rocket launcher can spawn in here. In between the Horde Knights, the resources respawn and an airdrop carrying more resources will drop in as well. The Zombie Master during these day sections can control sleepers who can be used to harass the locals or destroy the loot containers, which is probably more useful. Additionally, each survived night, survivors get a random perk selection that stays until the end of the game that will make them stronger in various ways. This goes on until the zombies kill all the survivors or until the end of Night 4, in which the game abruptly ends to a very unsatisfying victory screen. That's all Survivor gameplay really is. You'll loot while killing sleepers and then try and survive a wave attack. In my opinion, it's pretty shallow and dull if you've played 7 Days to Die for any length of time, and if you haven't, you would probably find 7 Days to Die more enjoyable. Where I think the gameplay does actually shine a little bit better is the Zombie Master gameplay. Now I have to address this because in the first look video I absolutely just did not understand the Zombie Master's gameplay mechanics, and I should preface this by clarifying because people were flaming me for this, and it's something I couldn't have done if I wanted. There is no tutorial for me to have skipped, which I was accused of. The handbook is a list of building blocks and the Zombiepedia just tells you about like the zombie stats and abilities. It doesn't explain how to use the interface to spawn the zombies. If there was a tutorial, I would have watched it because I would have known I wouldn't have understood how to work the Zombie Master gameplay. But basically, my comments helped me out there. And now that I know how to actually use the zombies, it is considerably more enjoyable. Let's go over how it works since Blood Moons fucking won't. Basically, when it comes time for your Horde Night, you'll see your zombie tokens fill up here, and then you have to drag these icons onto the map where you want the zombies to spawn from, and I suppose when you want the zombies to spawn. I usually just spammed all of mine out immediately though. These didn't look draggable at all when I played, so I was just kind of sat there waiting for something to happen, and eventually the game spawns them for you just around the players. You can customize your horde and bring in increasing numbers of zombies with specialists each night, and it's quite tactical in my experience. Like, you might be like, oh, I need to bring in this zombie that's better against structures because they've really fortified this section, or I'm gonna like distract them with loads of zombies on this side and put cops on this side to shoot them in the back of the head. Like, it's actually quite enjoyable compared to the Survivor gameplay. At higher nights, you'll actually gain access to more zombies and more dangerous zombies, though you'll have to get further into the out of round progression in order to unlock those zombies permanently. So what do you do during the day as the zombie? Well, it's actually rather simple, and again, I would say more interesting than what the survivors are doing. You can A, yeet as many of these sleepers as you possibly can directly at the players and just try and chip away at their health and stuff, and harass them and distract them, maybe making them waste their healing and ammo, and most importantly, when there's a 4-minute timer, waste their time so that they're not prepared for when the horde comes. A more reliable strategy though, if you're playing against people with brains, is to go around destroying resources, because people with brains will pretty much just ignore you and won't waste their bullets and healing during the day because they know the time is short. If you run around, destroy all these ammo boxes and med boxes so the survivors can't replenish their supplies, it's very difficult for them to survive multiple rounds if you keep doing that. So a war of attrition is definitely possible there. Once all the boxes are destroyed though, then you can just harass the locals and try and get them to waste their ammo and medicine on sleepers, which are non-issues. As the Zombie Master, you can individually control any zombie that you can spawn, and you can even use special abilities, do big jumps, and just generally become more of a concern than a normal zombie would be. 90% of the time when I was Zombie Master, I actually got the kills by my own hand as a zombie, despite the Horde's presence, because one, the AI shit, but also if you run in with the high damage zombie and jump onto the roof behind them where they're not expecting you, most players won't react to it very quickly, and you can secure kills that way. Overall though, the Zombie Master is a pretty fun experience once you get used to it. All the zombies have unique stats and abilities that actually gives the gameplay some variety, which the survivors really just don't have beyond some pretty superficial weapon choices and I guess perk choices. Both the zombies and the players have perk tree. There's 5 attributes. Each attribute has 6 perks. You can only choose 3 of those perks at the same time. It's whatever. It's nothing to write home about. And the biggest problem I would say with Zombie Master game mode is right now you'll get about 2 games of it done an hour, which is not a good ratio. So my closing thoughts here are that my opinions on this game have improved slightly since I figured out how to actually play the Zombie Master game mode, as I've said numerous times now, as it is a genuinely fun game mode with some genuinely novel concepts and gameplay there, but it's really ruined by the fact that this game has no players, so the waiting times are extremely long. And that's not just like a minor problem that's not under anybody's control. The Fun Pimps made a conscious choice over the last year since they announced Blood Moons to do next to no advertising for this game, and now that it comes out, it has peaked at 366 players in the first 24 hours, and that's its all-time peak so far, and that's not acceptable for a game that is primarily meant to be played online. If you can't find matches, you can't play the game, which is a major failing of the Fun Pimps. I don't know what they thought this game was going to open to in terms of players, when all the advertising, as far as I can tell, that they've done is like booths at conventions, which aren't a very good way to advertise because there's obviously very few people there compared to the world, and a couple of YouTube videos, which were reposted on a couple of channels. Each one of them capped out at like 47,000 views, which is not significant for advertising a product in the slightest. If you sitting at home, dear viewer, make a gameplay trailer and it gets 50,000 views, you're selling 10 copies. It's not a good turnover rate. So yeah, the Fun Pimps did not do a very good job of advertising this online game that relies on high player counts to work right, which is a massive failure. Anyway, my final thoughts on this are that I still would not recommend this game even after an additional 4 hours of playtime. You can't say I didn't give it a fair chance of playing a game for 6 hours, though when I wasn't really enjoying it for most of it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.